What's going on, loves? Part two of this video about Jupiter. I really just want you guys, like I said, to be open-minded about it. Of course, I'm, as always, sending you peace, blessings, love, and abundance. I'll continue to send that out to you, even though this is part two. This is really the same video. I just wanted to break it up so it wouldn't be so long, and also, give myself a break. Let me drink some water real quick. My goodness. So cool. So this is a different perspective on Jupiter and the Son of God. So now let's go ahead and get back into it. So now we're gonna start looking at symbols associated with the planet Jupiter. So these 5 symbols actually represent that I'm about to the 5 symbols that I'm about to speak of represent power, protection, authority, strength, and courage. Metaphysically, it represents discrimination and the penetrating power of the intellect. So one of those symbols is the crown, and when you think about it, a king rules with a crown. Another symbol for Jupiter is the sword. A king protects with a sword. The lightning bolt, which possibly represents the sky god. However, we do know that it's also something that represents authority, can represent authority. And when you think about Zeus in Greek culture, they had Zeus with a lightning bolt. Okay. And another symbol for Jupiter is a throne, and a king sits on a throne. And then the eagle. So I'm going to get in the eagle. Remember, in the first video, I talked about how in ancient Egypt, they had a falcon that represented Amun-Ra. In the cultures that plagiarized the ancient Egyptians, they used the eagle, okay? Now, the eagle is actually considered the king of the birds. Eagle conveys the powers and messages of the spirit. It is man's connection to the divine because it flies higher than any other bird. Now, note the symbol for America, eagle, even though it's the bald eagle, but it's still an eagle. The Romans military, eagle. The UK's Air Force, eagle. The eagle is also used in at least 17 different countries' official emblems. And the country of Egypt has had the eagle on its flag since 1952. Okay. All right, so this is a quote from Manly P. Hall from the book Lectures on Ancient Philosophy. I think it's a book. It says, the physical universe is therefore the body of Jupiter, Jehovah, Osiris, or Shiva. So Shiva in Hindu culture is another one that would actually represent Jupiter. Okay, now Albert Pike, who is the sovereign grand commander of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, or was, says in the book Morals and Dogma, his power was symbolized by an eye over a scepter. The sun was termed by the Greeks the eye of Jupiter and the eye of the world. And his is the all-seeing eye in our lodges. The Oracle of Claros styled him king of the stars and the eternal fire that engenders the year and the seasons. Dispenses rain and winds and brings about daybreak and night. And Osiris was invoked as the god that resides in the sun and is enveloped by his rays. The invisible and eternal force that modifies the sublunary world by means of the sun. Okay, so again, that's Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma. That was from his page 477 in the book. All right, so now I'm about to get into some more information about Jupiter, the Lord of Plenty. So this is where I'm going to start to break down some things about Jupiter that makes sense for a time that we're in right now and getting into the age of Aquarius, how it makes sense that we are leaving the rule of Saturn, the rule of restriction and of discipline and of limitations and putting you in a box, and we're now transitioning into the time of Aquarius, which means not per se just the philosophies of the Aquarian, which also ties into a lot of the things with Jupiter, with water actually too, However, I'm going to explain to you a little bit more why Jupiter makes sense to be coming back in this transition right now from Pisces to Aquarius. So, again, we know that Jupiter is the largest of all the planets, aptly reflecting its principle of drawing us towards a sense of fullness and offering a grander, more expansive vision of reality. It expresses the qualities of abundance because it's the biggest planet, and also Jupiter, I'll get into, is also known as the planet of luck. It also expresses the qualities of freedom, growth, and fertility, broadening our horizons and bringing relief from the restraints that cause us to view the world in narrow, constricting terms. Its sense of liberation allows us to move, explore, think, and act with greater acknowledgement of the power of our own self-will. Classical sources describe Jupiter as temperate because its sphere lies between the cooling influence of Saturn and the burning power of Mars. It brings no destructive extremes to threaten vitality and is thus defined as warming and moistening, an active combination of qualities that draws things together in harmony to support increase and growth. Hence, Jupiter is known as the greater benefic, its essential nature being fertilizing and creating. It rules the sanguine humor, and sanguine means optimistic or positive. However, it also means blood red. Okay, so it rules the sanguine humor, which is connected with the air triplicity, and finds its seat in the liver, which is the largest organ in the human body. All right. Through its prolific influence, it is known as the Lord of Plenty, a symbol of prosperity that offers a ready supply for our physical, material, mental, and spiritual needs. The polar opposite of Jupiter is Saturn, the Lord of restriction and limitations. All right? Think about it. The Freemasons, or not just the Freemasons, the people, the powers that be, the ones that they say are pulling the strings, the one that people like to call the Illuminati, which they're not the illuminated ones. Okay, however people like to call them that. Why would they be worshiping Saturn, a planet of limitations? Why would they be uplifting Saturn to try to get some type of benefit for themselves when it's a planet of discipline, and they live the opposite of discipline? They live above the law. They live with no laws. Jupiter is a planet that is open to, expansion and prosperity and abundance. And they've been prosperous in abundance ever since the planet has been under this Saturnian, whatever you want to call it, governing and rule. Ever since it's been like that. They've had what you would call the upper hand, where they're the top, the 1% that have the majority of the financial, I shouldn't put in quotations, but the financial wealth. I was going to put wealth in quotations, but I'd say financial, but the financial wealth, seriously. Okay, so just think about that, and I'll get into that some more. So being sanguine, Jupiter is a liberal planet with a relaxing influence. Total opposite of Saturn, guys. So by calming our anxieties, it can seem to take away our awareness of limitation, filling us with confidence, optimism, and a joy for living. That's why Sagittarius is normally known as a very optimistic sign. Very optimistic, very expansive, wanting to travel, all those things that are associated with the planet Jupiter. Now, as it breaks down the boundaries, Jupiter, as it breaks down the boundaries that have arisen through fear, Jupiter breaks those boundaries down. Life appears more colorful because of Jupiter, more spacious and full of opportunities that wait our attention. When buoyed by its promise of self-assurance, most of us feel luckier, more prepared to take a risk, and view life as a game in which we must fully engage ourselves and grasp any opportunity to indulge our sense of self-worth. We think of Jupiter as the planet of increase and expect to prosper under its influence. So, again, think about the people who have the majority of the financial wealth. If they wanted to be rich and abundant and prosperous and increase and have the power of increase and prosper and have influence over this planet, would it really make sense for them? Would it really make sense for them to be taking in the principles of Saturn? Or and this and even though, you know, people say that the sun, because they worship the sun and the moon and do those things, and I'm not saying that the sun is not incorporated in all this, and that the sort of sun is, I'm not taking away from the sun's importance by giving you this information. However, I'm saying that each planetary body possesses some type of gift, some type of influence on the humans on this planet, the spirits that are in human form on this planet, and all of the animals on this planet. And when you know how to tap into those particular planetary bodies, you are able to basically create the life that you want. With Jupiter being the planet of expansion, wouldn't it make sense that the Saturn energy was used in order to prohibit the majority of the planet and keep them at a certain level, and the energy of Jupiter was used to elevate others? Wouldn't that make sense? Like I said there, oh, he's playing with his little toy. That's so cute, Slate. He is so cute. That's so cute, Slater. Look at him. I should show y'all this real quick. I know I'm filming a video, but I'll flip it around. Oh, he stopped. I hate when they do that. As soon as you flip it around, they want to stop. Hey, Slater. Hey, buddy. Look at him. He is so cute. He is so cute. Okay, now he just wants to, you know what? It's just like when you want to show like what a child does and they stop doing it. That's exactly what he did. But it was so cute when he was playing with it. I wish I would have saw how he plays with it, but whatever. What was I saying? Yeah, so I was just saying, you know, basically just think about that. Just think about what I said before I showed you the cuteness of Slater, all right? Now, where was I? I talked about the opportunities that it brings are based upon having, okay, so the prosper under its influence. I'll start back over with this particular paragraph. We think of Jupiter as the planet of increase and expect to prosper under its influence. But the opportunities that it brings are based upon having greater freedom to think and act for ourselves. Think about that. Why would they want us to think and act for ourselves? Okay. It is less inhibited by closed options that normally define our prospects and selections for us. Such freedoms calls for conscious awareness of what we do and why we do it, and how we balance the urge for instant gratification against the need to invest in the future. Conscious awareness, y'all. Think of that. Think of it. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Now, if we fail to acknowledge the value of caution and moderation, we can be fooled into exploiting opportunities that lead towards financial failure, spiritual dissatisfaction, or the boredom and depression that accompanies overindulgence. Jupiter doesn't offer revenge, but allows us to be the architects of our own destruction, giving us enough rope to hang ourselves if we call for it. As the supplier of the bounteous feast, Jupiter knows that those whose greed exceeds necessity will end up sorry that they failed to self-impose propriety. That's the word. Couldn't get it out for a second. Thus, this planet is a symbol for natural justice, not enforced from without, but seen to originate from our own actions. Devoid of the opportunity to scapegoat others for our afflictions, we are forced to take responsibility for ourselves and reflect upon how destructive freedom can be unless monitored by conscious awareness. Evolution of consciousness is Jupiter's true principle, and it is thus seen as the patron of philosophers, priests, religious leaders, judges, champions of moral values, and all who consciously seek to live by higher principles. Marinate on that, y'all. Marinate on that. Okay? Its symbolism embodies a deeply spiritual essence that calls for a balanced appreciation of untamed nature, honoring the creative will and divine illumination, which expects subservience to the higher mind. The symbol for Jupiter shows the crescent of spirit being anchored in the cross of matter, a significant, a signature of contact with divine illumination. Such noble concerns give Jupiter a regal reputation, so unless afflicted, it acts as a general signifier significator for those who wield powerful influence and conduct themselves with dignity and honor. In ancient times, kings were believed to have priestly powers because they were viewed as a figurehead through which divine will manifests on earth. Both priests and the divine king were ascribed the power to heal by touch, being agents of Jupiter's healing, soothing powers. Think about Jesus when he was walking and they wanted to touch the bottom of his hem and they were healed. The person who was afflicted was healed automatically of their dis-ease because they touched the cloth of Jesus. Think about that. Okay? Now, modern medicine bears shadows of this belief in the symbol used to represent a prescription. Originally part of a ritual designed to communicate Jupiter's healing energies to the patient by invoking beneficial enlightenment for the physician. A similar ritual is perpetuated in law courts where before giving testimony, we swear by God to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Now, we do it on a Bible. Anciently, or in ancient times, we did it by the scepter of Jupiter. In Greek mythology, Jupiter is Zeus, like I said before, heavenly father, lord of the day, and king of the gods. No star shines as brightly as his. Venus may do so at times. Get it out. But she is constricted to morning and evening appearances and can never shine brightly from the zenith of heaven. Jupiter's celestial brilliance portrays vitality, power, strength, and freedom of will. Depictions of Zeus generally show him bearing the symbols of sovereignty that remain in ceremonies of royal investiture today. The laurel crown symbolizes a radiance of creative understanding. The scepter draws divine inspiration down to earth. For Zeus, this is often replaced by the lightning bolt, which has the power to illuminate or destroy through its awesome cosmic force. Now, remember I gave you the symbols before, and I just gave you like some brief ways to think of the symbol. This is a deeper way to think of those symbols. Zeus is freedom-loving, unbowing to convention, self-indulgent, extremely prolific in offspring, and prepared to chase every opportunity by means of foul or fair. But he is also the arbiter of justice, whose myths depict the lesson that liberation offers us choices, but choices can lead to chaos. Unless we use our freedom wisely, it may become the source of our own undoing and ultimately return us to restriction. Just think about the civilizations before that were that seem to be following with recognizing Jupiter as a supreme being and as the son of God. They were very prosperous. Look at all the things they were able to accomplish. However, the reason why we're in a restricted point at this time is because the ancestors had to do something, okay, to attract what we have right now. You know, we are the ancestors, so we had to do something in order to attract this restriction that is Saturn. So just think about that. Now, Jupiter transits often coincide with experiences that extend our capacity for philosophical insight. They may bring travel to foreign places or an encounter with alternate worldviews that illuminate our minds with a fresh approach to life issues. Sometimes they bring periods of personal relaxation where we enjoy the jovial company of friends and move our focus away from life's daily grind. Sometimes Jupiter may be more direct and bringing opportunities for growth through business proposals and financial benefits. Jupiter has his diurnal home in Sagittarius and his nocturnal home in Pisces. The former bears a trine aspect to Leo, the sign of the sun. Think about that. The latter bears the same agreeable relationship to Cancer, the sign of the moon. Think about that, connected to the sun and the moon. These are therefore deemed to be signs of easy manifestation for a planet that symbolizes fertility and harmony. In Sagittarius, Jupiter is colored by the vitality and active manifestation of the solar principle. In Pisces, by the restorative and reflective qualities of the lunar principle. Being itself a diurnal planet most suited to active expression, Jupiter yields a clearer and more direct influence in Sagittarius than Pisces. Remember, Sagittarius is the masculine sign. Pisces is the feminine sign. That's why when the Jupiter is in Sagittarius, it has more of the principles of the masculine side. When it's in Pisces, it has more of the principles of the feminine side. Now, in Pisces, Jupiter's energies are cooled and moistened. Empathy and sensitivity is increased, and the urge for exploration is internalized. In this sign, Jupiter's tolerance can manifest as great compassion for the freedom and philosophical rights of others. Think about the time that we're in right now. Think about it. Think about how people are starting to wake up and open their eyes and be more sensitive and more empathetic when it comes to being tolerant and an understanding of other people and other people's philosophical rights and respecting that and other people's freedoms. Think about that. Now, Jupiter's metal. Of the 7 metals, Jupiter rules 10. Revered in ancient times because of its preserving effect. 10 is an alchemical symbol representing mediation and balance between hot and cold. Again, that balance. That is because it is situated between Mars, which is iron, and Saturn, which is lead. Think about Flint, Michigan, the lead in the water. Think about the things that are happening in this current world, in this current planet we're on because of Saturn. Okay? The thunderbolt is a stand-in for the Jupiter symbol in an alchemical text and signifies the second phase of the lesser work of the grand alchemical process. 10 purifies water, guys, and it has an attractive silver luster symbolic of light and has no detrimental impact upon other substances. So if people had used the metal tin for the piping system instead of lead, just think about the fact that people wouldn't have gotten sick. You know what I'm saying? Now, these virtues and the fact that it is easily worked and decorated made it a preferred choice for cups, for eating vessels, and for religious artifacts. Now, tin dominates the distribution of nourishment through the use of the tin can, whilst pure tin remains the most practical material for handling high purity water in distillation plants. And I'm sorry, my mind started thinking about the Wizard of Oz and actually the Wiz, because I was thinking of Ease on Down the Road, Michael Jackson and Diana Ross. And wasn't it the Tin Man who wanted a heart? Yeah, I think it was the Scarecrow wanted a brain. The Tin Man wanted a heart. That's interesting. So I was literally thinking about that a little. And I'm going to have to think on that more, because I know the Wiz and the Wizard of Oz do have symbolism that also plays into the planetary bodies. I know it does. It has to. Now, where was I? Yes, I talk about the tin dominating the distribution of nourishment through the use of the tin can. Pure tin does remain the most practical material for handling high purity water in distillation plants. Being chemically inert to water, it is unable to contaminate it in any way. Okay. The metal is named after the god Tinia, Tinia, the Etruscan equivalent of Roman Jupiter and Greek Zeus. The Etruscan word tin means day, illustrating the close affiliation between the metal and a planetary deity whose Greek name Zeus derives from the word, I think it's pronounced Jew, but it's spelled D-J-E-U. The root word we use for day in modern European languages. Jupiter governed the day as the supreme ruler of the sky. The sacred origin of his word is also revealed through Jews' evolution into the term deity and divine. And for some reason, I started thinking about deja vu just from the spelling of it. Okay? Now, the places ruled by Jupiter include sacred grounds and artifacts, altars, temples, and churches. I'll repeat. The places ruled by Jupiter include sacred grounds and artifacts, altars, temples, and churches. Places where knowledge is imparted. Universities, libraries, colleges, lecture platforms, conference halls, or set aside for debates concerning social issues or delivering speeches to the public. Oratories, houses of parliament, assembly halls, town halls, council meeting rooms, courts and buildings connected to the delivery of law and justice. Through its association with material wealth, banks and building societies. Think about the fact that Jupiter is known for philosophy and religion. Jupiter is known for abundance, so of course banks will be associated with it too. Prosperity, banks will be associated with it too. So you have all these corporations and things, and all these churches, and all these, these temples and altars utilizing Jupiter for their gain. Think about that. Now, Jupiter also signifies palaces and places that demonstrate fine, impressive architecture, marvelous detail, or magnificent structure. And I didn't put it in here. However, I did find when I was doing my research, you can actually Google and you'll see that they show that a lot of the old, like ancient structures in ancient Egypt, like the Temple of Amun-Ra and some of the Greek temples and things like that, all were built for Jupiter. Now, this is just some extra stuff that came to me as well when I was doing my research, and it wasn't necessarily something that I particularly found, but as I was doing my research, it hit me. So let's talk about the last thing I want to hit on is Jupiter and the numbers 12 and 24. All right. Jupiter circles the zodiacs in approximately 12 years. So it takes Jupiter 12 years to make a full orbit around the sun. Okay. Now, 12 years plus 12 zodiacs equal the number 24. This is just my thought process. Jupiter's symbol looks like the number 24. Look at the astrological symbol. I'm not talking about the bow and the arrow, or the half man, half horse, which is a whole nother story. I really didn't even get into that. However, look at it. It looks like the number 24. Think about the fact that on our clock, it's divided into 12-hour increments. Yes, we do have the 12 zodiacs, and we have the 12 zodiacal wheel house. However, also think about how Jupiter is related to that, the 12 disciples. Just think about that as well, how Jupiter plays into being the Son of God. All right. Also, we have 24 hours in a day, and they're broken up between 12-hour increments of day and night. And that is when it's fully balanced, when you have about the same amount of day and night hours. All right. Now, the number 24 also is a symbol of a horseshoe. Why is it a symbol of a horseshoe? That's because a horseshoe is the symbol of Omega. Omega is the 24th and the last letter of the Greek alphabet, of the alpha beta. So think about that as well. Okay. I'm actually going to just, summarize the fact by saying, guys, that Jupiter's eye, if you really look at it, it is shaped like, similar to the eye of Haru. Okay. Jupiter has the perfect position in the planetary bodies by being in the center of all of the other planets. Okay, which means that it's perfect balance. And I think it was in ancient Sumerian culture, Jupiter signified the second half of the year. We know that the ancients started the year off in the springtime. So Jupiter actually signified the time of the year when Libra came in. And Libra is the balance of scales. Libra actually is the sign that is in the middle of all the other zodiac signs. And it also represents balance. Libra is actually the only sign that is not represented by some type of animal. Okay? That's a whole nother story. However, I just want to, give you some food for thought. Give you some soul food for thought. Even though this is not a soul food for thought video because it's too long, I still wanted to give you some soul food for thought, something to think about. Jupiter could definitely be the sun disk on the heads of the ancient Egyptians and the Sumerians, because it's the color orange. When you look at Jupiter, what color does it look? It appears to be orange in detail. Okay. Jupiter is represented by the eagle now in modern times and in the civilizations that plagiarized the ancient Egyptians. However, the ancient Egyptians, they utilized the falcon. However, they're both very powerful birds. And the sun disk has wings. The eye of Haru has wings on it. And now they dropped the wings like in on our money and dollars, and now they have the rays, which we thought were the sun rays, but it just means illumination. I talked about how Jupiter is linked to divine illumination. So just think about all those things, and how there's no such thing as coincidence. If we want to talk about the fact that Saturn was utilized in ruling a time and keeping people under control in the age of Pisces, where people were not as open to the philosophies of different types of or different ways of thinking, of free thinking, as in the time of age of Aquarius, where the water bearer is pouring the water. And I also talked about how Jupiter represents water, and how Jupiter is also thought to be the reason why we have water on this planet. Okay. I watched the movie last night, the Percy Jackson movies. I watched one last night and one the night before. And when you look at the movies, you see that how Zeus is the most powerful god. I know this is Greek mythology, but Zeus is the most powerful god. And then he has his brothers, Poseidon, which is Neptune, and he has Hades, which represents Pluto, and Saturn, who is Kronos, is considered to be the father because of father time. All right? However, just look at the relation to Amun-Ra as well, who is also could be looked at as Asar, who is considered to be one of the most, if not the most powerful deity in ancient Egyptian culture. Okay? And how they may represent being the actual son of God. Jupiter also being made up of the same gases as our sun. Jupiter actually could have been a sun, or could have been our sun, had it been hot enough for the hydrogen and the helium to bond to form the actual sun, or the form a star. Okay? Some people say that it's a brown dwarf star, but because the mass of it is not quote unquote big enough to be one, they call it a planet. But Jupiter doesn't operate like most of the planets, nor does Saturn. They both be on the defense. Saturn as well be blocking other objects from forming planets. So you can just see how both of them could have been. That's Slater walking in. You can see how both of them could be fighting, per se, fighting in the heavens for the position of the top boss. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to representing the Son of God. And people looking at Saturn as being the dark side of it, and looking at Jupiter as being the light. You could just look at that. Saturn and Satan, and Jupiter as being, again, the Son of God. So I think that's pretty much what I want to say. I just wanted to, like I said, give you guys this food for thought, because when you think of expansion, you think of Jupiter. When you think of a prosperity and abundance of any other planetary body in the sky, you think of Jupiter. So yeah, just think on those things, my loves, and I really thank you for watching this video and being open to it. Always keeping an open mind, because you should always question, and I've said this before, question everything. Don't ever think you know everything. Don't ever think that there is not more knowledge that's to be gained out there. Just do your own research as well. I will continue to look at this, and I might do another video, get more information about it if I find anything else. However, I I know that from just looking at certain things, the Freemasons, a lot, from what I saw, they did look at Jupiter as being the son of God, or the all-seeing eye in their lodges. So yeah, Jupiter does have that the red eye, which could represent that disc on the Egyptian's head, which also could be representing the all-seeing eye. So I'm going to end the video on this note, my loves. Like I said, I definitely appreciate you for watching and checking out this video, being open-minded and being receptive to something new if you haven't ever heard this information before. Of course, I want to send you love, my heartbeat out into the ether, that beautiful energy, that love frequency out to you. And I want to thank you for subscribing to my channel and for liking my videos and liking this video in particular as well, for checking me out on my Instagram and following me, linking me up on that. Knowledge Butterfly is my Instagram, and my Knowledge Butterfly Facebook, for liking that page and following that page, as well as oh, and my Facebook is also called @Empress Rostar. But yeah, as well as, you know, just being you. I want to thank you for being you, and for growing and glowing with me. All right, so peace, my loves.